Hello there, and welcome to another day on the journey beyond 2000 ELO Rapid Chess on chess.com. We are playing today with the black pieces here, and we're going to a Scotch game against somebody from a flag I've never really seen before. Wow, Kiribati. Cool flag. If I were to guess, I would assume my opponent's not actually from Kiribati. One of the cool things on chess.com is they allow you to essentially put whatever flag you want. And we were playing a Scotch with the trade already on c6, which is not the most common thing in the world. So now I'm working with the bishop pair here, and that's going to be something that I'm going to try to exercise in the long run. I'm trying to consider if I should play knight f6 here. If I play knight f6, then they can maybe push e5. I want to go queen e7 here. They might support the pawn or castle. If they castle, I can just take, but I can't actually because the rook would come in. So knight f6, e5. I guess I could just move the knight out of the way, but I could also play queen e7, castles, and then I can't take this pawn. I think that's okay. I mean, I can probably get away with playing knight f6, e5, and just moving the knight elsewhere. I can maybe even play d5 or d6 if I wanted to. If I play d5 right away, it allows e5 without me being able to play d6, which is a little bit annoying. Notice that I have ideas in the long run here with this bishop targeting the f2 square. I'm going to play knight f6 because I think it's fine. I don't see e5 being that problematic, although my opponent plays it fairly quickly. Now, do I play queen e7 or do I just move the knight? That's the question here. Um, I think I'll play queen e7. Just a developing move. They're going to castle. I'll probably play knight d5 on the next turn. And note that I'm not going to even dream about taking this pawn. That's out of the question in this position. We'll probably play knight d5 here. I don't see any other logical move. Maybe, my opponent playing this pretty quickly, so maybe I'm walking into a worse position. But it's important not to fully trust your opponent just because they're playing moves quickly here. That's not what chess is about. Now, what's going to be the plans here? Note that this bishop makes it hard to move the f-pawn, so they can't really play f4 to support this pawn. If I castle, then this pawn becomes a target. So maybe they'll try to play bishop f4, but that's not possible right now. So how are you actually going to defend this pawn after I castle? Maybe you can try playing queen e2, queen e4, and going for mating ideas on h7, preventing me from castling on the king side. That's a possibility. Here, the knight comes out to c3, which invites a trade as an idea. I don't know if I necessarily want that trade. It just undevelops one of my pieces. That's probably a good piece. If knight takes, pawn takes on d5, controls two important squares in the center, and I can support with c6, for example, or even bishop b7, which is even better. Let's just castle here. Let's just castle. I have to watch out for queen h5 ideas. There's nothing concrete there. I can just play g6, I think. But it's good to pay attention to these moves. Not too concerned about the knight capture because, like I said, I can recapture with the pawn, and then I can put the bishop onto b7, or I can play like c6 and try to play for d6. Okay, so this move hits the bishop. Now, do I care about losing the bishop? If I don't have to drop the bishop, then why would I want to? The knight move doesn't only hit the bishop, it also prepares bishop g5, in which case f6 is harder to play because of this pawn. I'm going to just drop the bishop back to b6 and argue that you cannot play this move because I'll take the pawn here. So that's what I'm going to do. Trades aren't necessarily something that you should immediately go for unless if it leads to a better position for yourself. I think that one of the aspects in which I've improved the most since, starting off around 1600 in this whole YouTube series is understanding that I shouldn't rush to trade pieces here. I should evaluate whether or not a trade favors me. And even though the bishop here, I wasn't actively trading pieces, but by not moving it, I would have allowed trade, which I don't think would have really favored me. This bishop is actually doing quite a bit on this diagonal. It's eyeing the king. it's freezing this pawn that's on f2 right now, because if the pawn moves, well, you don't exactly do a good job protecting your king there. And yeah, it's just a really valuable piece with this pin. It's making this e5 pawn very weak, and now I think it's very hard to defend. I don't actually see a good way of defending it. You can't really defend it with the queen anymore because there's no discovered check. The queen covers the discovered check from e5, and here it just looks like I'm going to be winning the pawn. Um, okay, well this is the move that keeps the pawn on the board, but I don't necessarily see how after g6, unless I'm missing something important, which is possible here. g6, the knight might come into g5. So that's important to be careful of. Although g6 hits the queen. So, okay, I stand a little corrected here. g6, the queen is hit. The queen's going to slide back here. Queen takes. Knight's not able to come to g5 anymore because I'm hitting the... Oh, wait, actually the knight is able to come to g5. And then I would have to play like h5, and it gets a little complicated. I will play g6 because I think it's an important move nonetheless, because the bishop and queen right now are very dangerous working together. I see that the knight coming to f4 could be possible to hit the queen and bishop, but it's covered by this bishop right now. So I'm noticing that after g6, if I take this pawn, if I'm allowed to, which, okay, my opponent moves the queen to h6. I didn't consider this because I feel like I can just slide the queen back to g7 and everything's protected. So here there's knight g5 and then queen g7, and I think I'm okay. So let's just take, unless I'm missing something big here, which I don't think I am. One thing about playing attacking chess is it limits a lot of the possible moves. You play in a very forcing manner, so when you're on the defending side of a strong attack against your king, or even just any attack against your king, you have to calculate very concretely. And here there's just not that much in terms of venom in the position. This dark squared bishop, if it was active, would have been really, really strong. Like if it was fianchettoed here on b2. But as it stands right now, the only way to bring another piece into the attack is knight g5, and queen g7 just does the job. I really like my bishop on b6, which is just keeping this pawn on f2 pinned the whole way through. It's really doing the Lord's work. Note that after queen g7, the only squares for the queen are on h4 and h3 if they want to maintain some sort of pressure on the h file, in which case, I mean, I could play d6 and get this bishop active eyeing the h3 square, and I'll be able to finally get all my pieces into the game. So here, I'm inclined to believe we're just up one healthy pawn here, although it's obvious that as things stand right now, white has the initiative, and I need to respect that. I can't just not pay attention to what my opponent's doing. Okay, the bishop comes out to g5. So queen g7, right? Bishop can't really go to f6 because first of all, the queen gets captured. Second of all, the knight's controlling the f6 square. I think I'll go queen g7. It feels like the very natural move in this position, unless I'm missing something tactically, which is also a possibility. I don't think so. We'll go queen g7, see where the queen goes. If the queen goes here, yeah, I can go f6. Well, now the bishop is, there's a threat of bishop h6, which is kind of annoying. Bishop h6 is kind of annoying. Let's see. Okay. Wait, this is actually a little bit more complicated than I thought. Um, Maybe I can just slide, no, the king away there. I can't really move the rook to e8 because of this knight check. Knight takes bishop here would trap my queen, so that's a good way to go very wrong. Can I play f5? Comes with a tempo. Well, not really a tempo. Bishop h6 is still possible here. Yeah, this is not the most obvious thing in the world. Maybe I can play h5 right now. h5 doesn't allow this. h5, knight here, knight takes, and I have queen h7. I'm not too sure about this. I could also just try to give up the exchange and play for like f5 ideas. I'm not sure. I'll play h5, but it's very possible I get punished for this. They might even just try to break things open, which seems possible. Seems possible right now. Let's see. If they do this, I could just play f6 on the next move, I think. Note that I have 3 defenders of the f6 square, which is enough to meet the 3 attackers of the f6 square. So f6 could be a move here. Okay, and they're trying to get rid of this knight, which makes sense. I think I'll just play f6 anyways. I think this is dangerous though. What I'm doing right now is risky. Um, but it feels like it's necessary. Let's play f6. So takes is the argument. No, my bishop is practically trapped. Ooh, that's bad. That is bad. Although after here, there's maybe f5, which hits the knight and allows me to take on c5 if the knight ever moves. Some complicated stuff, some really messy stuff. Okay, so the bishop moves away, which means that I have to watch out for this bishop here. This feels like there must be something in this position. There really must be, but I don't see it just yet. If I play f5, there's a home back on g6, and the knight can actually slide to g6, but I think I might need to do this in order to prevent the threat of c5. I also am running out of time, officially. There's a nice little tactic here of bishop a6, just activating my bishop, and if they take, then I take. I feel like that could be a move. I'll play it because I don't have enough time. If they also push the pawn and attack my bishop on b6, it's essentially the same situation. So let's do this. Very messy stuff. And I have to find a way to kick out this knight because I really don't like c5. Like, let's say they move the bishop back, for example. Oh, bishop back doesn't actually address the problem. So we're doing okay here for the time being. But what an interesting position. Like, it's a complicated one. I don't ever want to play g6 just because it weakens the light squares and it also sacks the pawn on h5. That doesn't really make sense to do here. Okay. If I go this way, I can bring the knight in, maybe? What pieces are not currently involved right now? Maybe I'll just move the bishop here to safety. I think this makes sense. Let's do it. Now, when the knight moves, they're going to win this pawn back. I don't really care about the pawn. I'm just trying to survive here. We've got a big onslaught going on. Oh, they can take the knight. Oh, whoopsies. That's completely on me. Let's attack the queen. Yeah, I just collapsed here. Time pressure. It's essentially turning into a blitz game though, where I'm just down a piece for a pawn, which is bad. Like this is losing probably, but it's complicated. Let's hit the knight perhaps. So I'm gonna just try to play quick. Like I think that's gonna be the new plan. of attack here. The knight's going to jump in this way, probably. Oh, no. Okay. I'm just trading off stuff. That's fine. Hitting the rook. I don't want to open things up even more. I feel like that's probably ill-advised, so I'm going to just play something like c5. And then bishop d4. It's all going to be about speed right now. It's all going to be about speed and who can spot tactics faster. If they do this here, I mean, I can probably play queen f6 and take with the pawn, hit the bishop can move. It's not enough. It's really not enough, but my opponent's taking very long here, which is good. Okay. Let's just... They're trying to simplify the position, which is a little annoying. I think we can push. Let's just push. Oh wait, no, we definitely could not push there. That was a bad move. That was a very bad move. Okay, they just want to trade, but they could have done a lot better here. They could have done a lot better. I'm still losing, of course. Of course, I'm still losing, but we're gonna try to fight. We are going to try our best. Okay. So my opponent obviously has the light square bishop, so I'm going to try my best to hold on to everything on the dark squares. Like that's going to be the plan. If bishop here, I go bishop d8. I don't really have a choice. If anything else is played, I can probably go rook b6 here and correct my pawn structure. Make it a little bit harder to get through. Okay, scratch that. I didn't see that as an option. And now I'm probably losing. Let's go rook e8. Try to get some back rank possibilities there. Keep everything on the board as much as we can. Oh, wow. Yeah, I just don't have time here. Okay. Is there a mate here? Yeah, there's just not enough time. I can probably resign this, but with 30 seconds left for my opponent, let's just do some defensive sort of practicing, I guess. All right, nah, this is done. Oh! Oh God, chess is sometimes the dumbest game in the world. I don't even know what to say. Let's analyze. Wow. Well, that was certainly a game of chess. It actually started off being a pretty interesting game. We got the Scotch game with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and d4. And after knight takes, bishop c5, we actually got knight takes on c6, which I'm really not that familiar with. And it's kind of what led to the complications we got later on. After this bishop move, bishop d3, this is still theory. This is the classical variation, apparently, of the Scotch. Here, apparently, I'm supposed to either play queen h4, trying to go after the king that's not castled yet, or play d6 to open up my light squared bishop. Instead, I played knight f6, and this is a bad move because it allows e5. I saw this, obviously, but I didn't understand that the knight is just not great coming to the center of the board, and also this pawn is just really strong. After castles, I can't take the pawn, so the knight jumps to d5, and now I can still never take this pawn here. My opponent should have played knight d2, so that after I castle, then they can play knight f3 and keep the pawn locked down. So that's probably what they should have done here. Instead, they offered me a chance to trade the knights. I should have gone for this to clear up and open up my position. Instead, we castle, and now knight e4 is very strong. Apparently, the idea is a complicated one. It's c4. It's not that complicated. The knight doesn't have any really good squares here. These squares are all taken. That just leaves b4 as a square for the knight, but there's a really cool tactic here. And it's a complicated one. This one is not easy to see. So, obviously, my opponent missed it. I missed it as well. You have to start by sacrificing the knight with knight f6 check. And essentially, the whole point is you're just completely opening up the king. After pawn takes, you're going to go bishop takes on h7. Two brilliance in a row. And after king takes, the point is queen check, forcing the king back. And now checking again on g4, forcing the king back. And now queen h4 check. And once the king goes back here, you can take the pawn. Now the pawn is defended by the queen, and there's going to be unstoppable or very close to unstoppable mating ideas. You're going to have to sacrifice the whole house to keep the game going. My opponent didn't see this move. They played c4 later, I believe, but not right away. Instead, they try to go for the immediate attacking idea of queen h5. Here, g6 played. It's the best move in the position. And after queen h6, I can take the pawn. Now, what I missed here is that after bishop g5 and queen g7, there's a very strong idea. And my point was that before they played this move, I thought, okay, I'm going to just trade the queens, whatever they do on the next move. But this bishop g5 move is pretty annoying. Actually, most moves would have been pretty annoying. They would have stopped me from going queen g7. The point is that after queen g7, the queen steps back to h4, and now all of a sudden bishop h6 is a really annoying threat because it skewers my queen and my rook at the same time. Not only that, like if I try to move my rook out of the way, for example, well, my queen is essentially trapped in this position, almost trapped. It's not quite trapped because bishop f6, there's the knight that can take. But bishop h6 grabs some space. And now if I ever try to do anything different, for example, take the pawn, knight f6 actually is not possible. Hold on, what am I missing here? Oh, I'm missing the move c3. c3 is clever, but c3 disconnects the queen from the defense of f6 and g7. I can't take because then the knight would take. And for example, if I take with the knight, well, now knight f6 comes in with very, very lasting repercussions. So some complicated stuff. It really freezes up my position. The best move here would have been playing f5, kicking out the knight and forcing it to relinquish, forcing white to relinquish some control of the f6 square. Instead, I played h5. I was just really worried about this bishop h6 move. I didn't see a better way to stop it. They play c4 here, trying to kick out my knight and trying to lay claim to the f6 square. But I go with a counterattack. And this is the best move in the position, f6. The point is that if they take the knight, I'm going to take the bishop back and just relieves a lot of the tension for me. It also opens up a strong rook with the bishop working together. Yeah, my queen's no longer at risk of getting trapped once I have a firmer control of the dark squares. So my opponent sends the bishop back, and then I play the best move in the position again, tactical in nature. Again, bishop a6. The point is that you can't take the knight because then I'll take the bishop. It comes with a threat against the knight, not immediately, but with the move g5, for example. Let's say the queen takes, loses the defense of the knight. There's no other good way for the queen to defend the knight here. So they can't take. And here they went queen g3 so that they can defend their bishop. So now they're actually threatening to take the knight. And I just had a momentary lapse of of concentration and didn't think too hard here and just played a random move. And unfortunately, I just lost the knight. And you would think, okay, well, now you're going to lose the game. And I did expect fully to lose this game, by the way. But I decided to keep playing on. I realized we were down to 3 minutes each, so if I can play fairly fast, make things a little complicated, then it's worth doing. I'm just down 2 points in material in this position. But realistically, I mean, everything's falling, right? This pawn is falling, the rook's getting in, and it's just not a pleasant position. This pawn's going to fall as well. If I ever take, then the rook can take this bishop. So it's really not that great. And I end up being down 3 pawns here, trying to trade off the rooks to just, you know, get my pieces active somehow, but everything collapses. There's really not much to do when you're down this much material. Very nice observation here by my opponent, seeing that the pin is possible and then not rushing to take, but instead trying to win the whole rook instead, which they're able to do. They're able to stop my pawns, so no threat of promotion here. And in this position, my opponent, all they have to do really is go rook b5 and just push the pawn. All you have to do. There's literally nothing else to be done. My opponent instead, with 21 seconds left on the clock, does something we've all done before. Blunders step. This is the prime example of why you should not resign in chess when you are low on time and your opponent is low on time. If your opponent is low on time, you just try to make things complicated. I didn't intentionally try to make things complicated. I just played moves. Once all my pieces were gone, it was really hard, and I lucked out. It happens very, very rarely, especially when you get up to 2,000 ELO, but it happens. So, folks, there's little time on the clock for your opponent. Keep playing. You have nothing to lose. You can practice your defending. You can learn your stalemate tricks and traps, your Rosen traps. Yeah, we're still we're still above 2,000 ELO somehow, and the journey continues. I'll see you all in the next video. If you are not already subscribed to the channel, if you haven't liked the video yet, I encourage you to do so. Drop a comment if you have any feedback for me or advice, and I'll see you all next time, I hope. Take care. Bye-bye.